Hello everyone and welcome to the 6th episode of my GTA Online racing series. For this episode I've decided to take some inspiration from the Mythbusters series, which you've probably seen elsewhere on YouTube, and do some myth busting of my own when it comes to GTA Online and GTA 5 car modifications. These myths are things like Armour increasing weight and therefore slowing your performance. So what I've done is take the same car with multiple different car modifications around our favourite cutting corners track and get some lap times for them. We've got best lap times and average lap times as well. So the first myth that we're going to address in this video is upgrades which don't change base car stats still affect general car performance. So this is things like Armour and things like that. So here's my ruiner, which is what I intended to modify anyway, so I thought I might as well do it for this video. And as a stock car going around cutting corners, I managed to get a 105.14 as a best lap time and a 105.5 as average lap time. So that's the base car with no modifications. But then I took it into the Los Santos Customs and modified it. But the only thing that I did in this first test is put Armour on it. Now I only had 60% upgrade available to me, but that should be enough to determine whether it actually improves time or makes it worse, or makes your car heavier. So with Armour on, the car actually went quicker. I managed to get a best lap time of 105.07 and an average of 105.33, so in both instances it's about 7/100ths of a second quicker. So I went back to Los Santos Customs and then added any body modifications, so anything that would, I thought, may add weight, so bumpers, hood, anything like that. With that, the best lap time I got was a 105.27 and the average was a 105.6, so very slightly slower with body modifications on. But back to Los Santos Customs, and this time it was time for wheels. So I put some high-end wheels on it and also custom tyres and bulletproof tyres just to see what effect they might have. Now we actually went quicker with these modifications. We got 104.73 best lap time, which is the best lap time we've seen, and a 105.4 average. So back to Los Santos Customs once more for suspension, and this is the last thing that we're going to do that isn't a performance related upgrade. So with suspension I went slower than what I had just done, with a best lap time of 105.14 and an average of 105.40. Now, as a little bit of a discussion on those before we go on to the next myth, I don't think that any of those modifications really had that much of an effect. The times that you saw, although if you take them at face value, were slightly quicker and slightly slower from test to test, we are only talking about tenths of a second either way. So, you know, that could easily be just down to a driver variation, standard variation in driving. Just two small notes: although the best lap without suspension was actually quicker than the best lap with suspension, when you look at average laps they were reversed. So, you know, taking the whole picture into account, I would say that, you know, there wasn't really that much of an effect either way. And also custom tyres I feel did have quite a decent effect. I felt a tiny little bit more grip when I was actually driving the car, so those are the one thing that I would say out of those modifications that might have the potential to have an effect on the car. Overall though, there's nothing there to suggest that any of the modifications we've seen are going to affect your races positively or negatively. So we move on to the second myth now, and that is going beyond the maximum values in Los Santos Customs does nothing to help performance. So this is talking about the little bars that you see in Los Santos Customs and how acceleration, can it go beyond that bar and actually affect performance or not? Some people say it doesn't. So what I've done is put the turbo on and put the maximum transmission on, and that has maximised the bar in Los Santos Customs for acceleration. Now I took it round cutting corners again, and as you've seen there's a big improvement as lap time, as you would expect, with a 103.9 best and a 104.13 average. But then I went back to Los Santos Customs and put the engine on, and this is the maximum engine. As you can see, the acceleration bar doesn't change, but do we see a difference in lap time? Yes we do, a big difference, another second quicker. A 102.84 best and a 102.98 average. So yes, it's definitely true that going beyond the maximum helps performance, and you can see that here. Watch the acceleration bar, there it increases, and that's the difference between turbo and transmission turbo transmission and engine. So myth 3. Better brakes have such a small effect on stats that they don't actually benefit performance. All I had to do for this was, again, after I'd done those tests, put some brakes on and see what times we got. Yes, there was an improvement. The best lap time was a 102.4 with an average of 102.8, so not that much of an increase, but certainly worth having them in general. Fourth myth. Body items made from carbon lower weight and therefore improve performance. Now, for this, this was an afterthought. This is how my ruiner was when I went in after I'd done all the tests, and this is how it was when it came out. This is how I wanted it to be, essentially. This was after I'd put all the modifications on that I wanted. Now, this has a carbon hood, carbon wheels, and the GT wing, which is also carbon. And the best lap time was actually a 101.87 with an average of 102.65. And that is a bit of an improvement. I mean, that is quite a significant improvement, I would say. So, obviously, the second and third myths, we've quite categorically proven those to be myths. And the first myth, that's kind of iffy, it's up to you. But this one, for carbon items, we have actually gone significantly quicker with carbon items on. Now, why is that? Is that definitely to do with weight, or is it just that I managed to hook up a really good lap? It's I'll leave it for you to decide, but all my cars in general, my racing cars, will have all carbon items on anyway. But it does seem the lap time difference does seem too much to really ignore that carbon might actually reduce weight and improve performance. And if it does that mean that all of the other mods increase weight? Probably not, or if it does, not to an extent that it's going to affect performance. My recommendation personally, if I was going for the quickest car, it would be get the engine, the transmission and the turbo, then get the brakes, then get any carbon items, and finally custom tyres. Once you've done that, get the rest of anything else that you want. It doesn't matter, just get what you want and it'll be fine, it won't affect your performance. I especially don't think that Armour decreases your performance, so you can definitely whack on a lot of Armour, be a lot better in races because you're not getting thrashed about as much, and it's not going to affect your performance really. So yeah, that would be my recommendation personally, but again, you might feel different. I've just put the times up there for you to sort of figure out. But we do have 2 myths left, and these are kind of personal ones. Myth number 6 is that better suspension slows you down. Now this comes directly from this video, the fact that I was doing the times and I didn't get a better best lap time with suspension than I did without suspension. The average was quicker, but I didn't get a better best lap time, so I wanted to really test that out and see what effect suspension had, if any. So I took my Elegy and I removed the suspension from it and took it around the Cutting Coroners track. All I was going for here was a best lap time, just one really good lap. I'd already shown that on average the suspension helped, but I wanted to see if it actually helped over one single lap and by how much. So I just went hell for leather for one really quick lap. Now in the bottom right hand corner you see that there's a 55.41 is my personal best. That was actually set in an Elegy as well. Now this lap that you're seeing now is actually a 55.3 something or other, so blindingly quick essentially. And I was really surprised that I managed to get a lap time this quick and get the fastest lap time that I'd ever got on this circuit without suspension. So that put a bit of a strange idea in my head. Is a car quicker without suspension than it is with suspension? That would be a turn up. So I went back to OS Customs and popped the highest level of suspension that I had back onto the Elegy, and just again went hell for leather around Cutting Coroners to see what kind of lap time I could get. Now this lap that you're about to see is again very quick, and the reason I've left it in is because it's just so fast. It's a 55.2, which basically means that yes, suspension is quicker, but not by a lot. I really think that suspension will probably have more of an impact on sort of cars like SUVs and sedans, where they aren't naturally low to the ground anyway, unlike sports cars which are generally quite a little bit lower to the ground in general. So yeah, I think suspension has more of an effect on cars like that, but I did manage to get a very quick lap time with suspension anyway, and that's what you're seeing now. But then something pretty incredible happened, and this is where Myth 7 comes in. So after I'd posted my videos of the fastest cars in the game and tested them all around this track, the Elegy was the fastest sports car, and a lot of people didn't believe me. So Myth 7 is that my fully modded insert sports car here is better than the Elegy. So let's try and debunk this myth that the Carbonizer, the Corvette, any other sports car that you might have that's fully modded is quicker than the Elegy. So this lap happened just a few laps after the lap you've just seen. So this Elegy is fully modded and it has suspension and everything else on it. So yeah, I'm going to let you watch this lap and just see how quick the Elegy is whilst I talk about what kind of lap times we're comparing this with. So if you remember that fastest cars video, which you should have seen, if you haven't seen it, go watch it, it's really good. The fastest car in the game, which is the Entity, managed to get a 57.50 around this track as a stock car without any mods. The Elegy, as a stock car, managed to get a 59.7 or something like that. This lap time that you're seeing now is a 55.0, so about 4.7 seconds quicker than a stock Elegy, and 2.5 seconds quicker even than a stock Entity. Now this actually puts me in the top 200 on the leaderboards for this track, and as you can see, there are bikes all over the place. This is the only car within a mile. It's just bike after bike after bike dominating the leaderboards, and there's me with my little Elegy sat in the middle in the top 200 on a 55.0 best lap. 55.0 is stonkingly quick, and I've used that phrase before. I never thought I would ever get a lap time that quick, and I'd love to get in the fully modded Entity to just see how quickly I could take that around the track. But basically, to anyone who still thinks that their car is quicker than the Entity, their sports car that is, there's the lap time. There's the lap time that you've got to go beat. You know, there's the marker. If you can get round that track in under 55 seconds with a Carbonizer, I would love to see it. I really would. And you know, there it is. You know, go try it for yourself if you want. I would really enjoy, you know, seeing anyone who can beat that. So yeah, that's me. Not really proving this myth to be true or false. Just putting it out there for any of you who don't believe this myth to give it a go for yourself. So yeah, in my opinion, and based on all of the testing that I've done, the Elegy is by far the quickest sports car in the game. And by the example that I've just shown there with the 55.0, it's one of the fastest cars in the game, even when fully modded as well. So yeah, this has been GTA Online Racing number 6. I hope you've enjoyed it. You know, this has been my take on myth busting essentially, and focusing it on cars and racing. I hope I've given you something to think about. I hope what I've done has helped. It took me a while to go do all these tests, but I'm not going to lie, they weren't anywhere near the amount of time that it took me to do all of the long lists. But yeah, you know, I found it interesting to do myself, to see that really there isn't that much of an effect on a lot of the mods that are out there, apart from, you know, the obvious performance ones, and possibly with the addition of carbon and custom tyres as well. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. I hope it's helped at all. If it did, be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you enjoyed the racing as well, which I just put in to break up the monotony of things, you know, let me know. So thanks a lot for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.